Greetings and welcome to my channel. This week I've done up a drawing that goes over a basic idea of funding early retirement. This is what I came up with my amazing paint skills. It's a basic inflation adjusted expense graph and how I'll fund different parts of my retirement. This isn't exactly my, these aren't my exact numbers. Obviously, I just have ages on here. I don't have dollar amounts. It's just a basic idea of how somebody might fund retirement. It's similar to what mine is looking like, but obviously I didn't start at 45, and my Social Security will probably be a larger portion of my income once I hit Social Security age. But I figured about 2.8% inflation, meaning expenses will double every 25 years. This is obviously not quite to scale. And again, I didn't put dollar amounts in there. It's just to give you an idea of different funding options and what will actually fund retirement. So the first thing I want to go over as far as income is something I'm very fortunate to have, and that's my pension. I know not many people have a pension, but you could look at this as, maybe you have rental income or some other passive income that you expect to have for life. In my case, this pension goes up over time, basically at the same rate as inflation because it's supposed to be inflation adjusted. If we have, like this year, it should be a fairly significant increase due to the amount of inflation that we're currently going through. Hopefully it slows down, but at least as far as I know so far, the pension should increase and Social Security since they're now based off of the same CPI numbers. Pension should have a fairly significant increase this year to keep up with the significant increase in inflation we've had. Next section I want to mention is Social Security. You notice I have it starting at age 67. It is also inflation adjusted, so it increases over time. I think my Social Security will actually eat up a bigger portion of the expenses than I show here, but it may not. There are going to be changes to Social Security between now and then. Also, what I didn't show is that Social Security, you could start collecting as early as 62 or as late as 70. And in those cases, earlier, it's going to be a thinner band. And if you wait till 70, it's going to be a thicker band. So if you want to go back to my first video on breaking even, that can give you an example, will show you like at what ages you'd break even, but generally around age 80. If you live to be 80, that's about the break even point in most cases of if you're collecting early or late. So at that point, if you live past 80, it's better to collect later. And if you don't expect to live past 80, then by all means, collect early. Next one, retirement accounts. Those are going to fill the gap. And before you collect Social Security, they've got to fill the gap all the way between your passive income, in my case, the pension, and my expense level. So they have to fill that entire amount. Once I start collecting Social Security, they only have to fill the gap between pension, Social Security, and expense. So there's a much better chance of your retirement account lasting once you start withdrawing less of it. Finally, I want to talk about the taxable accounts there in red. And this isn't just taxable accounts, but this is the main gap that needs to be filled when you retire early. If you can't collect on your retirement accounts till 59 and a half, you're going to have access to money to fill that gap between whatever passive income you already have and your expenses. This could be maybe part-time work. I know people consider that not retirement, but we're not necessarily specifically talking about retirement here. It's also financial independence. Money outside of retirement accounts obviously falls into this. So if you have an outside, like a brokerage account outside of your retirement accounts, you have savings. This could also be selling other assets. Maybe you're going to downsize your home during this time period. And that's part of my plan, is to downsize my home, which should provide a fairly significant portion of the money I need to fill that gap. There are also options for 72T, early withdrawal of your retirement accounts. That's something you'd have to set up through your brokerage, but there is an amount of money, depending on the value of retirement account, that you can start withdrawing. You have to set it up, and once you set it up, you can't stop it, as far as I know. It's only going to be a small amount of your retirement account, like maybe 1 or 2%, somewhere in there. It depends, but it depends on your life expectancy and all that. They use actuary tables. I'll try to say that, to determine what your withdrawal has to be during that time. Because if you're not withdrawing enough and you're taking this, then that could be a problem. If you're withdrawing too much, that's a problem. But there's specific formulas that they use to calculate that. I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing that, because you want that money to stay in there and grow, so you have it in your retirement. Another possibility is that if you're working with your current company that you have a 401k with until you're 55, generally you'll be able to start withdrawing that from that retirement account at age 55 if you retire from your company at 55. So, maybe if you retire at 57, same thing. You'd be able to use that money. Another option, and again, I don't recommend this one, is if your retirement accounts include Roth contributions. Your Roth contributions have already been taxed, and you can remove those at any time. So if you have $10,000 of Roth contributions, then you could withdraw the $10,000 tax-free during this time period. But again, I wouldn't recommend it. So I hope you liked this video. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments. If you like the video, leave a like. Consider subscribing to the channel for future content. Remember, most of my videos so far have been on Social Security and calculating things. If you'd like to see more of that type of thing, please ask in the comments, and I will try to do whatever Social Security videos anybody would like to see. And until next time, if you're going to retire, retire to something.